There is widespread agreement that China hid the severity of what was happening with the coronavirus outbreak early on. But now the World Health Organization's role is coming under the microscope, too. The WHO chief has been criticized for not calling COVID-19 a pandemic soon enough, and he recently praised China for its handling of the virus. The current head of the WHO, by the way, is from Ethiopia, and China is a major investor there, setting up factories where workers reportedly are going through all kinds of grim working conditions. Ethiopia's capital is known as the city that China built. So the pandemic has placed the WHO and the China firmly in the global spotlight. Let's talk about it now with our guest and get some answers tonight from the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Texas Congressman Michael McCaul. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, I want to read something because you have pushed back hard on what you say is China's propaganda campaign, essentially trying to assign blame everywhere but themselves. And you sent a letter to all of the major heads of the social media companies here in the U.S. saying this: we cannot allow this strategic adversary to hijack the websites and apps of U.S. companies to flood users in the U.S. and around the world with propaganda and disinformation. But some of them have pushed back. The Daily Beast, under the headline, Twitter says Beijing's coronavirus lies are just fine, says coronavirus disinformation spread by senior Chinese government officials does not violate Twitter's terms of service. That's what a spokesperson for the company told the Daily Beast. How do you respond, sir?
Well, these are basically they're arms of the Chinese Communist Party, the propaganda arm in the United States and around the world, spreading information that the United States military was behind the coronavirus. And the reason why the Chinese Communist Party, not the people of China, but the Communist Party, are doing this is because they're trying to cover up what really happened. In my view, this is one of the worst cover-ups in human history. And it started, in the first week of December, and it went on into January. The WHO, as you talked about, patted them on the back for their efforts. And yet we have seen what has happened. Now we have a global pandemic that originated out of Wuhan. They allowed millions of people to come through Wuhan to celebrate their spring festival, 5 million of them leaving the area and traveling domestically and abroad. They went into laboratories and shut them down, destroyed laboratory samples, and they detained 8 of the doctors trying to speak the truth about what really happened in Wuhan, one of them actually dying from coronavirus after he'd been detained and pled guilty to a misdemeanor charge. This is a systematic whitewash of what the Communist Party's done in China to try to cover up what has happened, which is now wreaking havoc all across the world, causing not only the lives of many people, but also economic chaos.
Yeah, and that's what we're dealing with now. I mean, over on the Hill, we await, as we're continually told over in the Senate, this thing's on the 5-yard line, it's on the 2-yard line. They still haven't gotten it together over there. And there are concerns on all sides. As I mentioned earlier, I talked to Senator Graham not long ago, and he said that there are provisions about abortion funding and all kinds of things that members keep coming back to him, Democrats saying, I need $5 billion more for this or $20 billion for this, where he's basically signaling to the White House, pull Secretary Mnuchin and tell them this deal is over. How does it get done?
Look, this is not a time for partisan gamesmanship and trying to get all the grab bag items into the candy jar, if you will. This is a time when Americans want us to come together, Republican, Democrat, and do what's best for the United States. And right now, we have to pass a bill that helps our workers out there, helps our small businesses, helps our hospitals. And if we fail to do that because we want to score political points, shame on us. I very much hope we have a bill passed in the Senate this week, and the House will convene later to pass this. This is what the American people want and demand out of us.
Well, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, when she was confronted with some of these things, whether it's dealing with climate change or the makeup of corporate boards or, carbon emissions from jets, all these kinds of things, she said everything that the Democrats have put together in the House vehicle that's come together is actually related to the fight against COVID. Here's what she said.
Everything we're suggesting just relates to COVID-19. It's not about making law for the future. It's about COVID, well, except fighting COVID-19 is for the future, but I mean, it's not changing policy except as it applies here.
Okay, so Congressman, how do you reply to that explanation from the Speaker?
I mean, how can you tell me the Green New Deal is tied to coronavirus? Labor unions tied to coronavirus? How is the Kennedy Center funding as much as we like the performing arts? How's that tied to coronavirus? This is, I think, her being, influenced by her far left, the squad, trying to put in all the goodies that she wants into a bill. And it's not going to work because it's not going to get through the Senate. It's not going to be signed into law by the president. So let's be serious about this, about a bill that we can pass out of the House that will be passed by the Senate and the White House. I think Mnuchin's working very hard. I think Schumer and McConnell have been working very hard, and I know that they're getting close to a deal, and that's what we very much want. But, going back to China, if I can, if we can't stop the root cause of this problem, this happened with SARS, with bird flu, and now it's happening again with coronaviruses out of these wildlife animal markets where they trap endangered species, poach them, and sell them in these live markets. And that is what has mutated into viruses and jumped species into humans. For God's sakes, if the WHO cannot condemn this unsanitary practice and shut it down once and for all, we're going to be talking about this problem years to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hopefully there are a lot of lessons and changes that come around the world and here at home because of this. Congressman McCaul, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Shannon.